Right, we'll just give, say maybe another 30 seconds to a minute, just until we have everything set up. But hopefully everyone had a good trading week last week. This week we're going to have a complete breakdown. We can see the dollar's really moving well, so we're going to break that down first. Before we even begin going into any of the other pairs, we've not covered any of the majors, we've not covered any of the minors, and we're not doing any of the cryptocurrencies previously, so we're going to really break these down right now. So starting off with the dollar index, just give it a couple more seconds. Right, so dollar index, you can see that we have been moving up. Now I do think that this is going to be a short-lived affair. I do think we are going to start to head back down. You can see in this red area here, consolidation, we have really struggled to break it. Now we're coming back up to retest the highs around that 94 handle, 93 handle, and 93.50 we'll call it. So that's what we're looking at. We're really struggling to break out of this consolidation zone, so we're going to go down to the lower time frames and break down what's actually happening. You can see here we created that nice double bottom. Now we're just sort of ranging in between. We did reach that high in the 16th of August again, round about that 93,500 handle, and now we had retreated a little bit, created another bottom, and now we're coming back up into that area to retest the high. So let's go down to the 4 hour and see if we can get a better picture of what's going on here now. We did cover this little area of consolidation where we had this blue support zone and this orange resistance zone. Of course we were anticipating that breakout, and we did get that breakout. You can see we broke out ever so slightly, come back down to use it as support again where these lows were printed, and now we're pushing back up. We're going to hit that 93,500 handle, and I do think we're going to find a little bit of a stall in this blue zone here if we just move this red line. So that's what we're looking at for the dollar. Now we're going to be patient and wait and see what the market does when it opens, see where it has gapped, whether it be up or down. But if we go to the weekly just quickly, you'll be able to see that this whole red zone is a big weekly level, okay? It's actually a huge weekly level. You can see here. To be a little bit more accurate, we'll probably call it this wick here, and the bottom of this wick here. You can see we have had multiple great touches, and every single time it has touched, you know, has been real nice, significant moves. So again, we are now in that area. We've broken back below that area. We'll come up to retest, hit that 50 EMA. So we've hit that 50 EMA, now we're coming back down, created that double bottom. So we're going to try and see if we can break it for a second time round, but we are still in this red zone here. You can see it might just be worthwhile moving it up ever so slightly. So if we go back over, you can see here this is a little bit more accurate. We've got these touches in here, maybe move this up a little bit. But again, we're getting all of these wicks. Of course, it's a big zone, so typically to get a good degree of accuracy in your trades, what we would do is we would never ever take this as a full zone. We're just highlighting this area because we know that when price action does come to this zone, we can expect big things. So now, because it is a weekly zone, we don't expect things to be happening straight away. So we go to the hourly. What we're going to try and do is we're going to try and find zones that could be of interest to us in this red zone, and that's really what's going to give us that degree of accuracy. So right now I'm waiting to see what price action does when we hit that 93,500 handle and above, in around this zone. and then we'll wait to see what happens from there on. But I do think the dollar will be bearish long term. I do think we're going to find some problems once we hit that 93,500 handle, and then we'll look to start working our way back down. So that's currently what we're looking at for the dollar. If we quickly just go back to the weekly, because we had broken below this zone and we're really struggling to get above it, I do think that we are still bearish on the dollar. We are coming into that 50 EMA here where we had, we'd pushed up, price action was always above it. Now that we've broken below, we've come back down into retest that 50 EMA on the weekly, on the monthly, sorry, as resistance, and it looks like it's holding, and I think we are going to get a nice reaction around about that zone, and then start to look to retarget these lows here around the 89 handle, and then possibly even coming all the way down to 83,500 potentially if we do see that bearish sell-off. So with that bearing in mind, there's no clear direction. I do think that we are going to be short-term bullish, very short-term bullish, but long-term bearish. And with that in mind, we're going to now break down the major currencies with that confluence in mind. So we're on Aussie USD. You can see here we were having that what we thought was going to be a little flag pattern, a little bit of a stall, a continuation back up to these highs in the orange. But what we are going to do now is we're going to take all of this off. We're going to reassess all our levels, all our zones, and make sure that we are still got the same sort of bias. So you can see in the daily we've broken out this descending bearish channel, but we've really not been able to sustain that breakout. Now we're selling off pretty hard. I do think we might sell off down to that 0.71 where we printed this low here in this orange zone. That's what's looking like it's going to happen, and that's due to the fact that the dollar has been strong recently last week. So that's why we have that sell-off. It's congruent with the dollar being strong, of course. But we could find some support around that 0.618 Fibonacci level and then push back up if the dollar does start to show some weakness this week, and then push back down. So Aussie USD, you can see what we're looking at here. No clear. I would personally favour a buy if we were able to get the dollar index congruent with our analysis. We may even see a bounce of that 0.618. This could be maybe a shoulder, a head, a shoulder. Perhaps something like a neckline, break, retest, and then push back up higher. But again, no clear bias. We know what we want and we know what we're looking for, but until the market gives us that, we can't really say too much. So Aussie USD is definitely going to be on the watch list. Euro, a little bit messy. I'm not really too interested in that. It's not staying on the watch list. Eur USD, again, the dollar is looking real interesting. So I'm going to put that on the watch list. I'm going to remove all this analysis. We did say that pushing out of this pattern, it was looking a little bit sluggish. The bullish momentum just wasn't really there in comparison to the bearish momentum. And then of course we have found that resistance underneath the 50 daily EMA, and now we're pushing back down to these lows. So again, not really anything too exciting for me to be taking on this, but nonetheless, I am still keeping it on the watch list. So Euro USD, that will stay. If we just go to the weekly, see what happened last week, you'll be able to see we had a bearish week. We did have that descending wedge into support. I thought we were going to break out. We did break out, but I thought we were going to hit that 1.22 handle where we see those highs printed. But again, it just wasn't meant to be. We might actually break this support and then find our way down to the next level of support around about that 1.137 handle. So again, not really too sure where these are going. We're going to just wait and see, because obviously the dollar index is going to be a huge advocate on whether we get in buys or sells in any of these positions. So again, Euro USD stays on the watch list, but A little bit unsure of the direction just yet. Eur Gpy is just a little bit messy, but let's have a look on the lower time frames to see if we can get anything. So yep, so there's not really anything moving too satisfactory, I would say, and we do have a little bit of stalling here. Coming back into these lows where we're finding support, you can see nice and clear. Let's just remove this and put a new level of support here. You can see where we are finding a little bit of stalling in price action. But again, there's just nothing really moving too well. We're up, we're down, we're moving sideways. So Eur Gpy I'm not going to put on the watch list. It's not really exciting me at all. Let's move on to Eur Gpy. Again, dollar strength, euro weakness. That's typically what you'll see, and that's what we have seen last week with that dollar strength. We had really started to push down. We had a nice little pullback here, but again, the bears looked to have won that battle, and we're going to go down and retest these lows around about the 128 handle. So we're seeing a lot of congruency over all the different charts that we're looking at, because they're all sort of doing the same thing. We've all tried to break out. Now we're coming back down to where we initially broke out from, where we printed the low. We've seen that on Euro USD, we've seen that on Aussie USD, we've seen that on Eur Gpy, and it's all dollar based price action moving in these pairs. So that's why we're paying so much attention to the dollar, because it is an interesting time. It's not too sure what it wants to do. There's not a long-term trend developed, although if I was to put my bias in and a guesstimate, I would say long-term we are going to be bearish. But again, who knows? GBP Aussie, I'm going to keep this on the watch list because I do like the look of it. We do have that strong bullish channel. If you go to the weekly here, you're going to be able to see it. We have that strong bullish channel. We could look to break out of that. We've not broken out of it just yet. We have hit that little bit of consolidation. We're coming into a nice little area of support here. You can see where these lows have been printed, and we're coming into that edge of the bottom of the channel, which is obviously going to act as a big area of support, coupled in with the fact that we are consolidating maybe into this area to then push higher around about that 1.90500 handle. But again, that's what we're looking for. That's going to stay on the green list. Green list is ready to enter because it could be ready to enter by the time the market opens or develops early in the morning. So we're going to keep that on the ready to enter list. GBP USD. Again, this was ready to enter. I'm going to keep this on the watch list because we were looking for a sell here, and we didn't actually get in it, but it proved to work pretty well. And we've come and hit that 0.382 Fibonacci. I'm not too sure where that's from because it was drawn a while ago. I'm assuming it would have been these lows to these highs. Yeah, so we've hit that 0.618 Fibonacci. We're finding support in the form of a double bottom here. We printed that wick on the 8th of September at 1 o'clock, and now we are looking to see price action stall a little bit. Now, if the dollar is weak, then this is going to push GBP USD up. If the dollar is strong, it's going to push GBP USD down, of course. So again, stay on the watch list. I'm not too sure where I want to be taking this. We could potentially take this higher if the dollar's weak and anticipate that breakout, and then look to potentially get back up to these highs here around about 139,800, and then we could look to potentially hit 1.4. But again, nothing will be achieved unless we get out of this area that we're in now. We're pushing down ever so slightly, but there is again no clear winner on the dollar index in my opinion. So I'm going to keep that on the watch list, but I'm not going to make a bias just yet. I would anticipate a push up higher because I am assuming that the dollar is going to be weak over the next few months. But again, just speculation. I have no idea what's going to happen, and that's for you to do your own analysis too. So again, GBP, GBY, we are coming back down into that bottom weekly trend line. We've seen it for a while now. Let's just zoom out and we'll be able to see exactly where it's coming from. It's the bottom of these wicks here that were printed on the 16th of March, again on the 21st of September, again on the 2nd of November. Now we're coming back down and to touch it, and every time we do touch it we get significant pushes away, but just with the rounding in off of the top of the price action, we could actually break below this here. As you can see, we have just rounded it off, just a big circle. Okay, just quickly need to charge this back up. So, now that we are starting to see price action rounding and off, it could be a good opportunity to start pushing back down into these lows and then see where we enter. We might actually find some buyers back down here. It might be a good area around about that 0.618 Fibonacci retracement or a 0.786. Find some support on this these levels of support in amongst the support from the bottom of the trend line, and then we could see price action pushing up higher. But again, this is just going to be down to seeing what the market wants to do when it opens and how it really reacts to the bottom of this zone. So again, we will keep that on the watch list, but for me right now there needs to be a little bit more development before we can get a clear-cut bias on whether we want to go long or short. If we break that bottom trend line, then of course that's going to really open up the gateways to be long term bearish. So as you can see, we have really pushed up ever since the 16th of March 2020. We've been on a bull run, and now we are starting to see that shoulder, maybe that head, maybe another shoulder. Here could be potentially be the neckline, break below that 50 EMA support on the weekly, retest it as resistance in amongst this orange zone, which would act as a neckline, and that would really open up the floodgates to start potentially entering sell positions as we start to work our way back down through the levels. So GBP, GPY, we'll keep it on the watch list. Nzd Usd, if we go to the daily quickly, we'll be able to see what we're looking at here. Again, I'm going to tidy this up a little bit. Okay, so I mean, me personally, I'm liking the look of Nzd Usd. Well, if the dollar is weak, then of course this is going to push Nzd Usd up. I do think that we could be seeing a long-term flag pattern here. So Nzd Usd is absolutely going to be on the watch list, and then I do think we could look to take out these highs, but for talking's sake, if you were to speculate again, because this is not obviously this is not good protocol for measuring targets, but nonetheless we can get guesstimates to see where we could potentially be heading. And it's interesting because right on that level, you can see here we've just copied and pasted that, and that has given us a really nice area here that price action could potentially head long term. Okay, so that's typically what I'd be looking for. I'd be looking for a little bit of a pullback, because you can see in this zone here in the flag pattern, if we just go, let's use the 4 hour because we get more data. And you can see we've had that bullish push up, we've had a nice bullish push up. Now, for me, I would like to use a Fibonacci here. Okay, from the bottom of these lows to the tops of these highs to see where we could potentially pull back into. I'm liking the look of the 0.382. You see we've got these lows here. I'm liking the look of the 0.5 and I'm also liking the look of the 0.618. So these are the three levels that I would be looking at to see a reaction to then push out of this pattern. So I'm actually going to put this on the ready to enter list because it could very well be ready to enter. Early hours of tomorrow morning, so we're going to put that on the watch list. So again, really nice pair. Out of all the pairs that we've looked at so far, I like the look of Nzd Usd. So let's go back to the major currency pairs. We've got a few more, and it's the dollar pairs. We're not going to bother with the minors, just because we want these videos to be short. Not to bore people, and we want them to be educational. We want to get good insight on the main currency pairs, because we understand that not many people watching these videos are going to have a lot of trading experience, and they might just dive into all these different pairs. So we really want to just give them a condensed watch list so we could avoid decision fatigue. We really don't need to be going into the minor currency pairs. We enjoy trading the minor currency pairs and we get some fantastic trades off them, but for the sake of this channel and for the sake of keeping everybody on a nice and simple path where they could really take in the content, that's what we're going to continue to do moving forward, is just focus on the major currency pairs. And then of course, everything that you're learning on these videos and how we approach the major currency pairs, absolutely, you could take everything that we are analysing, everything that we are using, all the tools, all the different tactics, you could take them, copy them over and use them on the minor currency pairs for yourself if you wish to. I mean, if you're just starting out, I would suggest just sticking to the major currency pairs, maybe even one or three, maybe say Eur USD, Aussie USD, Eur Gpy, something like that, just so it's less to be looking at. You're able to take in, retain the information, and also avoid analysis paralysis, and of course decision fatigue. So Nzd Usd, I'm loving the look of that. So last three pairs. So we have USD CAD again, moving identically almost to the dollar index. That's what we are seeing here. We did break, we had that real nice rejection. That could have been a real nice opportunity to go short. I'd imagine that would have, because it's so clean, the touches and then the respect to this line here. Again, it would have attracted a lot of sell positions. It would have attracted me if I didn't already have a few positions entered at this point. It would have attracted a sell position for myself, but as you can see, that just would not have played out. You would have had to look at the dollar index and make sure that that was going to be congruent with your entries. But from a complete technical standpoint, up until here, we are looking like the sellers were fully in control without actually looking at the dollar index. So for me, I'm going to keep USD CAD on the watch list, and I'm going to pay attention to the dollar index because it's not doing anything too much right now. It's not exciting me. Again, USD GPY, not really doing too much either. We're just consolidating in the zone, so I'm actually going to leave that off the watch list because I don't really want to take part in any of that. And USD Swiss, again, USD Swiss, I am keeping on the watch list because it's moving a little bit more than the rest, and of course we've broken up above this nice area of resistance in red. We've broken it above this resistance, and then of course I do think we will get that. I do think we are going to get that could this be the channel too? This could potentially be a little bit of a bullish channel that we're forming here. Of course, you wouldn't normally keep this trend line on, but sometimes it can act as a really nice area of resistance, especially if we come into an area like this, a nice area of resistance, and then every time a trend line's been broken, you can see it's had nice areas of respect, so it makes sense to keep this one here just in case we do come back down into that. And then we might actually see a sell-off from here, because this is roughly the distance that price action has to go on the dollar index, if you remember, to get to these highs. So we could actually see a reversal here on the weekly, and that would obviously be congruent with USD Swiss to take a sell position back down. And then of course we know where our areas of potential trouble are. They're here, they are of course here, and then of course here, and then we're just going to start to work our way back down if we do see those selling signals. So again, dollar index has been strong bullishly. We're going to take that into consideration this week. We're going to wait and see what happens, gapping up, gapping down on the market open, and then we're going to take these trades that we currently have on our watch list. So we have Aussie USD, Eur USD, Eur Gpy, GBP USD, GBP JPY, and of course USD CAD and USD Swiss. So again, just tidying these all up, put them into their proper brackets, and then that's pretty much us set to go for this week. Okay, we're not really going into anything more than that. We're not going into the minors. We're just going to stick to the majors. You can see we've got all our currency pairs on the watch list, and the ones that are ready to enter were of course GBP USD, GBP Aussie, sorry, and Nzd USD. Nzd USD being my absolute favourite pair for this week coming up, showing a lot of promise. And again, if we do manage to see that sell off, we are going to get that breakout of this bullish flag pattern, which can offer, as you know, a lot of return. So that's been the weekly watch list. It's been live this week. We're going to be live tomorrow again at 6 o'clock, 6:30, and we're going to do some live trading. We'll maybe just pick one chart, and then for you, those of you that like to trade more intraday and more shorter term moves, we're going to show you a couple of strategies and a couple of ways to really start to pick nice areas of the market that are going to offer you good returns from a more shorter term perspective. So hope you've enjoyed this week's the weekly watch list. Not too many to be looking at, but again, nonetheless, some really good setups that could offer a great return. So any questions, please shoot them over. Again, get liking and subscribing these videos, hit the notification bell, because they're going to help you a lot. And of course, as soon as they're posted, you get instant notifications before anybody else. So next time we see you is going to be market recap. We do have a couple of videos that are coming out this week that are just education related, that are not really watching over the markets or doing market recaps or weekly watch lists, so it's going to be a little bit of an extra bonus for everybody. So please look out for that. And as always, we hope everyone has a profitable trading week. So until Wednesday at 7 o'clock for the market recap, we'll see